Complexity is ruining your diet. You're a busy person. You might be overwhelmed with stress, overwhelmed with life, got a bunch of different meal prep recipes saved somewhere in your Instagram that you think you're going to go get to. You hear all these different strategies and might say this is the best approach or this could lead to the best results. But in the end of the day, it just leads to you feeling inconsistent, doing so much work, and it might even be 80% of the work you need towards getting results, but getting none of the progress. This is a really mentally fatiguing and troublesome trap that a lot of people fall into, and I'm going to tell you how to solve it. You're busy. You might be overwhelmed by life, by all its stresses. You might have a bunch of different meal prep recipes saved that you've seen on Instagram that are going to some folder that you may or may not get to. You've heard that this strategy of keto might work. You've heard of a fasting. You've heard of just caloric restriction, using your fist as a source of food sizing around about. There's so many different things. You can get this from the takeout. If you go to get this food, if you go into the servo, there's just a lot of noise and you're busy and you're running out of time and you're struggling what to do, and suddenly you're inconsistent. Decision fatigue is real and it can lead to immense stress of what to do in certain situations. When the decision fatigue is there, and again, you've been busy, done all these different things, it can be really easy to fall into a situation of, I've made 20,000 decisions, I don't want to make another. The issue people get into is avoiding making just a few key decisions at that stage is the thing that can stop them thinking 70,000 different thoughts throughout the week of what they should do that leads them not to get results. So this is where tactically having just a bit of thinking can stop you having so much overthinking throughout the week. But hey, it's a trap we fall into. The thing is about this particular problem is people here can do 80%, up to 90% of things right. They can eat well, they can be consistent with their training, at least to a very high degree. They can be conscious of many different strategies. They can be taking supplements, they can be doing all this kind of stuff, but just not have the ability to bring all the pieces together to actually get them the results they deserve. It's a very mentally exhausting strategy because, again, you're giving so much effort for it, but not quite the right effort, or at least not put in the right places with a succinct plan that stops you from actually getting the results you want and leads to a feeling of burnout because, hey, I've given all this effort and I haven't seen the results I want. And I have a lot of empathy towards that position. Some of the problems here is you can have so much chaos or different lifestyle things pop up that when food things pop up or training variables that you need to tweak and play with pop up, you just don't have the decision space to make those decisions on the fly. And it can lead to the decisions of it being too much and wanting to say, screw this. Even if it's not a dramatic, oh, screw this, and you're binging and having a bunch of pizza. I'm not talking about that kind of thing. That's almost a different category of things. This is more nuanced. This is almost more undetectable. A lot of people don't even know they're going through this phase. They enter these situations and they've got multiple different options. They've got a whole database in the back of their head of all the different things they could be doing right now. Could I have this meal again that I mentioned they saved on Instagram? Could I have this meal from the servo? There's actually too many options and they just would love a decision made for them because, again, they've just made so many decisions throughout the day and they're just tired. I coach a lot of people in this boat. People are just very busy and dealing with this kind of level of decision fatigue and too much optionality. And we need to make sure, and this is one of the reasons people reach out for coaching, is to abdicate this stress that they can handball towards, hey, you're gonna make sure the overall strategy is good so I have that free time, that free decisions, that extra space so I can focus on all the other busy elements of life. But even for those that want a bit more autonomy, and we have more of a hybrid approach, I try and make sure that there's only one meta succinct strategy. So this means not having a adjustable different meal strategies for each different parts of the day. For example, you're not trying to be a keto bro at breakfast and then a if it fits your macro guy at lunch and a trying to go for a fistful of protein, fistful of veg and blah, blah at night. You need to have one overall strategy that fits throughout the day. Next, and I can't emphasize this enough, is have planned, enjoyable, repeatable meals. I early on really want to find a database for people of things that they enjoy that they can repeat over and over, things they can fall back to. Because we want to have an overall strategy of if in doubt, go for that. The if in doubt element is a big part of what actually leads people to too much decision fatigue. It's the moment where they're deciding A or B, when really we need to see all these things of different strategies, not as actually great opportunities. Sometimes you need to view it as noise. It's just going to distract you from the approach that you know is going to work, that you'll be happy with. Next is have some wiggle room. So with the wiggle room, it just needs to be defined within certain parameters. For example, you could be someone with a 3,000 calorie maintenance and you want to hit maintenance in this given scenario. You could have an 800 calorie breakfast, lunch, dinner taking you to 2400. They might be planned. Then you've got 600 calories of wiggle room. You could have something you fall back to that if in doubt, I'm going to have that thing for 600 worth of snacks to fill the gap. Or you can have a situation of that could vary each night, but you know that you don't have the freedom to make it 300 or 900 kind of thing. You're just going to keep it at 600. Then you can have the freedom and decision making, but not so much towards how wide it's going to be. That's how it starts to go into such expansive territories where the overall strategy can become off. Next, and this is really important if you're quite busy, is to plan for the whole week. So some people might plan for just some dinners or even some lunches, breakfasts, whatever it is, but they're not completing the whole things, including the snacks, including the nighttime meals. But this can be really important if you're as busy as the people that I'm trying to identify in this video. Then again, it even applies to less busy people. And that's the idea that it's just more decisions you've got to make throughout the week that you might be compromised with your hunger, convenience, cravings, or just other unexpected variables that pops up in life. But now you've actually got something to fall back to. And just having a bit of that thought on the weekend might lead to this much decision making, but across the whole week can lead to this much of a decrease. So there is a whole thing to be said for doing a bit of thinking to decrease future noise. Future noise going down is just going to lead to easier results. Decision fatigue doesn't mean ineffective. It gets you results and it leaves less noise in the process and a more enjoyable way of achieving your fat loss goals or muscle gain goals or overall fitness goals. We can then lead to a situation of, with these defined early things, going towards a autopilot level of results. The kind of idea that I share with clients about this is to have it be a situation with your food and your lifestyle, stresses, personality, that the things you are doing almost feel natural. There's suddenly a whole lot less friction for the whole approach. This is where the whole conversation of, wow, I didn't feel like I was on a diet, it feels like I'm living a lifestyle, comes into effect. I did the training I enjoyed. I ate the foods I wanted. I didn't feel like I was working that hard to get it. Suddenly, there's way less burnout and you actually find the whole overall process way more enjoyable. Pre-planned, taking the decisions away, autopilot level, repeatable meals might sound boring, but leads you towards the results you want. Consistency beats this variability every day of the week.